Hey Hood, who's your favorite superhero?
I'd say Superman.
Are you sure? Seems like it might be the Flash.
No. I barely even know who the Flash is.
Sure?
Yeah, man, I'm totally sure it's not the Flash.
Are you sure?
Okay, it's the Flash.
Yeah, some days I feel unfazed, like when I'm with my friends with a cup raised. On Monday, I got a gun raised.
Hello there, everybody. My name is Ehud, and today we're going to be talking about gaming news and such. But of course, we have to go back to the old faithful Fallout 4. Wow, that is a small graphic. Enlarge that graphic, please. Thank you. That is a much better graphic. Thank you. Alright, for you guys who don't know, Fallout 4 is going to be an amazing game coming out in November. It's something I am very much looking forward to. But the thing that I'm going to be talking about doesn't only slightly involve Fallout 4, which is a minor addiction I've had recently, known as Fallout Shelter, otherwise known as Fallout 4's best marketing tool. Now, this game came out just recently on Android and the Android market, so more than likely, if you guys don't own an iPhone, go get this game. First off, it is an amazing game. It's really interesting, it's really fun, it's deep, it's methodical, and it's very good as a resource management game. The other thing I enjoyed about this game is that it had a lot of Fallout lore to it, and because of that, it is really good. Now, the things I would definitely change about that would probably have to be somewhere along the lines of little nuances to the game, actually getting to number your vault, but the vault itself, this number doesn't really correspond to the world itself that it's coming from. Like, if you make Vault 101, you don't automatically get a special thing like, oh, that's where the Vault Builder comes from. No, you just sort of get a no nod whatsoever to the old game, except for in sort of ways like people from the vaults showing up in the game. I know I have Alistair Tenpenny and James, which I'm thinking is the dad of the Lone Wanderer, and another character from Fallout 3. I know Paladin Cross shows up, but other than that, the game really doesn't have very many nods to the old games. It seems like a very much of a standalone, get to the feel of the world, if you will. Next news we're going to be talking about is GTA 5 and whether or not it's going to be getting DLC added on, not onto its online mode, but onto its story mode. Now, as you know, story mode's pretty good in itself. It's a good little package. I haven't actually completed it personally. I'm sorry. I just, one, it takes up a huge amount of time. Two, it's a deep, interesting game, and I never get the time to just delve into it and dive into it without anything else. I have a lot more on my plate. But yes, Take-Two has basically said, we're not going to say anything about DLC for the story mode. They usually let Rockstar do that. But it'd be odd if we never do ever get to see Grand Theft Auto 5 story mode add-on DLC, especially with how this game seems to be going through, and also the modern day gaming platforms, how they constantly are alluding to DLC to expand the experience onwards and upwards. I also believe that it wouldn't just make sense for on a business perspective, because you have such an intricate and strong supporter base, the people that would like to see more of Grand Theft Auto. But you know, if they don't, that's the thing. We can't force them, and that's the thing. When we look at this, we think of this as a whole package, and we're always asking our questions, why don't they just use these as whole packages? And I think this is kind of the reason why. We do expect DLC. We expect more from the story modes and such, and especially with Grand Theft Auto, which has been such a community-driven game so far. And of course, the final piece of news for tonight is Esports. Now, I'm not going to be talking about the news themselves. There are plenty of people who cover this with a lot more depth, a lot more detail. They know what they're talking about, rather than myself. I come into these things, and I'm not interested in esports in general. I don't like League of Legends or Dota. I just can't get into MOBAs myself. I've tried them, and if I really wanted to, I could probably get to them, but there's a huge time commitment to that. But the big thing about these is that I do enjoy the idea of large gaming sports, mainly from the perspective of writers, or from the perspective of gamers in general. We look at these things and we say to ourselves, this is a lot more commitment than you might imagine. There is a competition here that's being given, and with these competitions, they're given a large, more media attention. And I admit to this, that there is something of a attachment between real sports and esports that are definitely going to be becoming more and more blurred over the years. all in all, I do believe this is kind of an interesting fact matter because there are catch players, there are people who are making a living off of esports, and it's not just, you know, these are real athletes who are facing injury. They are facing consequences and practice and time commitments and huge amounts of, well, everything pretty much that are going on. And that's the thing. Like when I look at these things and I think about these things, I think to myself, there is a large amount of things that can be improved upon, but there are also things that need to be improved upon. And I believe that's going to be later in the future as these games become more and more popular. There's going to be people who's going to look at this and say, what angle on gaming can we look at and say, okay, this is the angle we want. We need to make it competitive. And then they go on and they actually create a sport in and of itself out of a game, out of gaming itself. And I believe that's going to be important because when we look at gaming, we need to look at the competitive nature of gaming, not just as an art form, but also as a competitive art form. When you look at sports, there is a certain amount of physique to it that brings out a essence of artistic expression and the rawness of human competition. To sound completely pretentious there, basically what I mean is there is a certain amount of extension. There's an amazing story behind every grand victory, and you can kind of get caught up in that. I believe that is very much a part of video games, and that does need to be expanded upon in a much more enlightened manner than what we can perform as simple gamers. We need the outside, we need the communities outside of gamers to be like, okay, there is a real life phenomena that allows us to become interested in gaming and competitive gaming in general. Well then, there you go guys, that's the vlog, that's everything that's been anything that I wanted to talk about this week. Surprisingly there wasn't that much because I've just been addicted onto Fallout Shelter right now. I spend a lot of my times usually figuring out stories and such. Big things on gaming though is kind of like slowing down as we lose a lot of the conferences. Esports is very big right now, and that's just not something I'm interested in. Another big thing that I'm hoping to look into was perhaps seeing if I can find some more news on maybe some of the superhero movies that are coming up. I definitely have an interest in those, and there's something that I'm very looking forward to. Also, probably the Flash TV show, once that comes out, I'm probably going to be talking more about that. But hey, if you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you guys want to see more of this stuff, there's plenty more on my channel. Go ahead and subscribe and check out my channel. It's super incredible that anyone would even check these out. But hey, they're all there. They're there for your entertainment. Go crazy. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya!